Hello my friends, this is Dr. M supporting your journey with intermediate microeconomics, and today we're going to cover new topic, Elchin and Allen theorem. It's a well celebrated theorem that is related to the application of the first law of demand to product quality. So I will give you plenty of examples to think about how the product quality is related to its own price, because people respond differently every single time when the price is changing, whether it's for freedom that we discussed previously in the last video session, or it is product quality. The first law of demand still stands, and we need to figure out what happens in detail. In order to answer this question, how the first law of demand relates to the product quality, what I would like to start with is example. And then as we move along, we can classify things here and there. Shipping good apples out. Just imagine that you go to the farm for fun, and you will find fun in buying apples, picking on your own from the trees or the ones that have fallen on the ground and may have some brown spots. I heard that the apples with brown spots are really good for apple pie. So let's suppose that you decide to pick both high quality apples that are right from the tree, crisp and with no blemishing, just perfect, juicy apples. And then those apples will be considered to be high quality, priced at $10 per bushel. And then you will also pick up a low quality apples from the ground that have been there for maybe a few days and earn some brown spots for apple pie. They have some fermentation process that made them really suitable for baking, and in fact it could even serve better in this capacity than fresh, crisp apples. So these brown spot apples, low quality apples, will be sold at $5 per bushel. Now we can define the price of quality. The price of quality in this case is identified in front of you as the ratio between high quality apple price versus price for low quality. And when you take $10 per bushel divided by 5, you in fact will get price of quality that is equal to 2. It's just a number. It's shows you the relative price, my friends, and I'm going to come back to what that means in a moment. Now the next question that will help us to illuminate the essence of Elchin and Allen theorem would be the question related to the fixed transportation charge. Indeed, what happens to the price of quality when we add transportation charge that is fixed? So you can think about farmers that bring high quality apples to the marketplace and low quality apples to the marketplace. In essence, transportation charge will require to stay within the same amount and magnitude, whether it's applied to high quality or to low quality, because you'll have to use the truck, you have to burn the gasoline. However you make this transportation, it is done by weight, and transportation does not discriminate between high quality versus low quality. So what I have in front of you is I added to high quality apple transportation charge in form of constant C and divided by low quality apples with transportation charge of the same amount. And if we going to assume that this transportation charge will cost $2 per bushel to transport high quality apples or low quality apples, then once you add those $2, you will get $12 divided by 7, or 10 plus 2 divided by 5 plus 2, and that is going to be 1.57. So notice that the relative price of quality, my friends, relative in terms of how high quality compared or contrasted against the low quality. And this relative price of quality in fact went down from $2 to $1.57. So according to the first law of demand that you have already learned how to apply in a variety of ways, you can predict that customers at the marketplace, once they experience the downward pressure, or once they experience the decrease in relative price of quality, they will buy more of the product that is representing high quality function according to the first law of demand, because the price of quality goes down, thus people buy more of a high quality function. And that holds true as long as transportation charge is going to be positive or greater than 0. That explains, if you were to travel to largest metropolitan cities, maybe London, Paris, New York, and you will find there that there is more of high quality food that is sold on the stand and at the stores, as well as high quality cars, as well as high quality anything else, in comparison to low quality. So, because those metropolitan cities, they demand higher quality product and low quality product, but because they don't produce anything in terms of product per se, such as apples, there's no farming in New York City downtown, or downtown London, or downtown Paris to make any meaningful production in terms of apples. Thus, transportation charge must be incurred. And when that happens, then you will find that the citizens in those cities will demand high quality function because of Elchin and Allen theorem. Now, it does not matter whether you ship apples out or you ship people out to consume apples. It still works. For instance, when people fly to Boston, they tend to eat more lobsters and sea related food that represents a high quality type of food, versus if they were to attend a similar function such as meeting, or maybe some other type of event back home. So in this case, you ship people to Boston, and that makes high quality functions such as eating lobsters less expensive and thus people eat more of it. The same goes to Alaska. The same goes to Russian ballet. I recall when I attended a famous performance in Moscow, Bolshoi Theater, to watch Russian ballet, and next to me in the theater there were people coming from New York, just flew from New York to Moscow to see the performance, and we had good seats, expensive seats, and that shows you that shipping people to this Bolshoi theater actually represented a lower price for a high quality function that was reflected in better seats. All right, let's keep going, because the most important for us is to understand how to apply Elchin and Allen theorem in this case. So all apples cost more. That's number one. And this is where you have to start your analysis. Once you add transportation charge, all apples, high quality apples and low quality apples, cost more, and thus people on average will consume less apples because of the first law of demand. However, in spite of the decrease in consumption related to apples, when people do consume apples, they will tend to buy a high quality apples from the opportunity cost perspective, and you will expect the shelf space at the stores to be devoted to high quality apples in places like London, Moscow, Tokyo, Paris, New York. It also shows you in a very helpful way to discover that people eat more apples at the place where they are grown for the same reason as it relates to the cost. In the same way, you can also discover that in Alaska people eat more fish, or in Russia people eat more caviar. So wherever the product has been grown, it makes it less expensive, and according to the first law of demand, you will find more recipes how to cook fish in Alaska. You will find more recipes how to eat caviar in Russia at the place where it's grown because of consumption related to the first law of demand. Next thing, what I would like to do is to get a little bit more formal and get our teeth around in terms of encompassing how we can put it together using algebra, geometry, and maybe even graphical presentation. So what I would like to do is to consider extension of our discussion when we talked about substitution and income effect as intrinsic part of any price change. Now we're going to extend it and think through that the full price change is actually in part due to the market equilibrium price that we observe every single day, plus transportation charge. This will also help you to understand why tourist destinations and restaurants and all consumable items within the tourist place on average more expensive, such as even if you were to go to a fast food restaurant during visiting some tourist destination, tourist area, you will find that it actually be on average more expensive. So interesting points. that we have to make. Just simply adding transportation charge, making consumption less, number one, and number two, making higher quality apples or any good differently related to a low quality good. So just adding transportation charge makes such a difference. So you also can think about the price in terms of the dollar cost and nominal fashion and time cost. And we'll come back to this because it gives you an idea how price can be perceived in a variety of ways. But I want to look and iron this out in terms of application when it comes to Alchin and Allen theorem. Think about a couple with a child, with a small child. Previously to having a child, this couple go out often without indirect cost. Now, with the baby in place, they now have less time of finding the babysitter and paying them. And what do we observe? We observe that prior to having the baby, couple goes out to eat more often in a variety of different functions. Now, with the baby arrival, the cost of eating out becomes greater. What do we predict? They will go out less often, but when they do, they will try to pick high quality functions, such as high quality restaurants. Let me give you another example. Alumni membership. Each university has some sort of a club that consists of former students that successfully graduated, and it's called alumni membership. And at that point, university can thrive on donations and all manner of support by members of this club. So your university could consider alumni membership in this particular fashion. There are some former students that are employed and live far away from their university where they obtain their degree, and there are some others that live close by. When you look at marketing membership of this club called alumni membership, you can apply Alchin and Allen theorem to understand what type of functions to market and in what way. For example, the alumni representation that lives overseas or lives at a faraway place at a different state will consider the higher quality membership because they will tend to attend fewer functions of the university, but when they do, they will choose higher quality function. Thus, higher quality alumni membership is more prone, or it's more suitable to market among the former students that live far away versus those counterparts that live in a very close proximity. So what I want to do next, I want to pose the question in front of you, and as you read this question, think about the answer, and we'll come back answering this question with the next video presentation. So the question is this: where would you expect people to drive nicer, it could be newer cars, in the state of Minnesota or in the state of South Carolina, and why? Be careful. Thank you guys, and we'll talk soon.